I'm Deborah Dahab, your expat coach and intercultural psychologist, and today we're going to talk about language learning. I'm going to talk about timing and other important aspects. So if you're thinking about learning a new language, and even if you have started, this is really for you. I would like to start by saying that if we're moving to a new country and we don't speak the language, we can be very tempted to start, downloading apps, getting private tutors and getting notebooks and watching YouTube videos all about that. Now, I would like to, in this video, ask you to pause, because actually learning the language too soon can be bad for you, and I'll explain why. Now, we are tempted to, as I mentioned, to start learning the language because many times, and I've heard this from many clients, they think that, it's the right thing to do, it's the polite thing to do, it's the, to interact with locals, and that's their expectation, and that's their even a fantasy of wanting to make friends with locals, and that's all good and right, etc. However, I want to point out two important aspects. One, when we're doing something because we think it's the right thing to do, it's the proper thing to do, or it's the polite thing to do, it's really not an internal motivation. It's not something that we want to do because we want to achieve something. It's because we are guided in this thought about what other people think about us when you really think about it. And when this happens, it tends to be more of what we call in coaching a limiting belief rather than a real motivation. So the first thing that I would invite you to think about is, what are your motivations to learning the new language? And if your answers are something along the lines that it's the polite thing to do when you move to another country, it's important that you communicate in their language, and because you're there, they're inviting you, etc., etc. Pause. Because when we're doing something for someone else, because other people expect us to do or whatever, that's not probably a really internal motivation. And when we're not internally motivated, when our motivation doesn't come really from within, it's really easy to get bogged down and to get discouraged and to get procrastinate and self-sabotage once we start seeing the challenges of learning a new language. So this is the first thing that I would really recommend looking into. And this ties into things that I've been saying in other videos, like, what are you learning the language for? Now, if you're going to learn the language because you have to work in this language, because your livelihood depends on it, because you have to present in a conference, or you're going to study in this language, well, that's pretty well defined, right? You have a concrete objective, and you have you're going to need this language as a tool for effectively living in this place. Now, other people don't have that, either because they're moving and they're either working remotely, so they don't need the local language, or they're not working for whatever reason. Either they're retired, or they took a break, or they just don't work. So it's really important to think about what you're learning the language for, and to make sure that this internal motivation is in fact internal and not something that you think other people expect from you, or it's the nice thing to do, or it's the proper thing to do, or it's the politically correct thing to do, because ultimately these things will not move your internal needle. So I hope this makes sense to you. Now, before I move to tip number 2, I'd like to share that All of these things that we're talking about are in the Master Your Move program, which is my group coaching program for pre-movers. If you have, if you're moving abroad and you want to really prepare mindfully and purposefully, this is the place to be. So get in touch. In the description box, I'll include my email and all the relevant links for you to get more information about this. Now, tip number 2 is when we learn the language too soon is when we're really, one, not sure about what we're learning it for. And also when we not really settled in to how we want to learn the language, which is the best way for us. What do I mean by that? We all have different learning styles, and this is something that we carry on. It's part of our personality, the way we're built. Let me ask you this. When you were in high school, how did you like to study? I remember I had some friends that really liked to listen to themselves, so they would read things out loud. And honestly, that really annoyed me because I'm a visual person. So I used to be the one with highlights and making notes and etc. So if you are a visual person, it's really important to use resources that tap into that. If you are an auditory person, which is the one who uses, hearing mostly, tap into that. So for example, auditory people really thrive on music, on poetry that has that musicality, on podcasts. Visual people like me, I need something to look at while I'm listening. If I'm just listening, I tune out. So I need a visual cue, either seeing someone speak so I can see their mouth, their gestures, because communication is really only 7% words and grammar, and that the other part, every other part out of the 7%, the 93% is tone of voice, is body language, is everything else. So is musicality. So it's really important to know what your language learning style is, so you can really tap into that and use the resources that will bring you the best results. And some people are also kinesthetic, meaning they need to touch. I'm kind of like that too. I like to have notebooks and, feel things. We all have the 3 styles, but one of the styles will be predominant, will be more salient. So it's really important to know what your style is. There are some online resources, free resource that you can find that. I will include one in the description box. And know how you learn best, because how you learn best, when you know how you learn best and what you're learning the language for, that means that, let's say you have a tutor, you have a teacher, you have someone who's helping you. This person can help you even more, because when you share your goal and when you share how you learn best, they can really tap into the best resources and the best content to help you get the most out of your learning experience. So I hope this video was helpful in really pointing out some of maybe the myths that we talk about when we're discussing language learning, and how to really focus and zoom into what's important so you can get the absolute best results. If you like this, let me know. If you have any comments, let me know. I would love to hear from you. And remember, if you want information about the Master Your Move program, you'll find the relevant links in the description box and in comments below. I hope to see you next time. Bye.